Hello and welcome to the Morning Skate Podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell to cover a massive 11-game slate to get us right back into the swing of NHL DFS. DJ, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. I mean, I think it's the first time we're recording the morning of, so it really is like the morning skate podcast, which is pretty cool. It's like when morning skates are actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, being as there was absolutely no breaking news like happening over the last few days, most beat reporters taking the days off. Everyone's kind of getting back in the swing of things. So we haven't gotten much news this morning, but maybe a little bit that'll help do this podcast, do this slate, and yeah, World Junior Hockey's here, so I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Matt, you were there yesterday. Any stories you wanted to tell?
It was a really fun time. Really sucked that it didn't even come close to like selling out or anything for the USA Canada games. Like, just no one seemed to show up, but for the actual on ice product, it was a lot of fun. So definitely going back the rest of this week, not today because of the kind of lackluster 2-game slate that they have for the World Juniors, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm there. So hit me up if you are also there.
Yeah, I will be there Thursday, and I haven't bought my ticket for Friday yet, but barring like a miracle, I'm buying my ticket Friday. I'm just waiting. I was just waiting for it to go down, and it's still like at the same price last I checked. So
Hmm.
yeah, let me look. Yeah, it's still at like $45. I'm just trying to wait. There's so many tickets available for Friday. I don't know if I'm gonna smash a table or not at the Ralph, but I mean, like, if the
Let's do
opportunity
it.
presents itself, I mean, like, I'm not gonna say no.
I
Like, I
mean,
could
I,
definitely take one down.
I think you just have to.
Yeah, for the brand. Okay, so let's just jump right into the slate. We'll try to get it out pretty quickly here, so we'll just kind of go right into it. We have Ottawa at Boston. We have Detroit at New Jersey, York Islanders. Columbus at Pittsburgh, the banged up Blue Jackets. We'll definitely touch on them. Montreal at Carolina. Washington at the New York Rangers. Let's do that hockey. Nashville at St. Louis. Dallas at Minnesota. Edmonton at Winnipeg. Arizona at Colorado again. And last but not least, Vegas at Anaheim. So what is that? I lost track. 13 games? Not
11.
even 11 games? Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, let's do that hockey as I already mentioned. Um, the first game on the slate, you just want to jump right in, or do you want to talk about any game beforehand about, I don't know, anything you wanted to talk about?
No, let's just go game by game. I think
Fine.
there's a lot of play spread out across all these games, so I'm not gonna pigeonhole myself early on into a certain team or spot or whatever. So let's get started with Ottawa at Boston. I think the key here is that our boy Mike Hoffman still massively, wildly, insanely underpriced. 5,200. The guy's averaging almost 4 fantasy points a game over the season, and he takes 4 shots per game. Like, it's pretty simple, if you ask me. Like, you just play him. His power play, wizardry is always appreciated, and just in general, he's a massive floor guy. So Mike Hoffman, elite play. DJ, since I grabbed the layup, any other guys you want to talk about here?
I mean, the sim is really, really high on Boston one, and I'm also pretty high on Boston one in this matchup. Um, Pasternak is the second rated pickle score on the entire slate. So that's pretty exciting. Um, I definitely like Boston one, but as I normally mention, I never really stray from Boston one unless if like I know a guy's gonna be on power play one. I mean, I really like Jake DeBrusk, and I think at 4,100, you could do a lot worse. If he could get a minutes boost, I think he could be a huge shot producer. But yeah, I'm just kind of weary on him only getting about 13, 14 minutes in power play two time, if I recall correctly. Yes. So I'm kind of looking at Boston one, Mike Hoffman. I'm not that interested in Duchesne, Stone, Brassard. None of those guys really. I think that Brassard Stone line will probably match up the best they can against Boston one, but I don't know if Ottawa really line matches as strongly, maybe as other teams. Do they? I
Yeah,
don't really think they
they're
do.
on the
A
road, so
little,
they don't really
they really
dictate
can't.
any of
Yeah,
it.
that's kind of
Yeah.
true. But yeah, like Ottawa does really utilize those top three lines more than anyone else. Um, So yeah, I mean, I'm waiting to see what the lines actually are because it looks like last game they had a lot of time with Hoffman with Broussard, and also a lot of time with Hoffman with Peugeot. Basically, you want to get Hoffman on the ice because he's your best scoring chance, and as a team that's really struggled to score, so I think Hoffman's an absolute like lock and load kind of play.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Eric Carlson at 6,200 is as cheap as you're going to find him again. Like really, he is cheaper than Roman Yossi and Pietrangelo. He is right in the same ballpark as John Carlson, Chris Letang. So, I think he's like the top math play here. I
Yeah,
actually kind of lean John Carlson if I had to pick a high tier defenseman, but I'll talk about Washington when we get to that game. But obviously, you can keep Carlson in mind as an elite pairing with Mike Hoffman. So,
I think you get 8 shots with blocks out of him tomorrow.
really,
I'm pretty confident in that. I know that
hey,
that might be
hey,
that's like
DJ, it's today.
highballing.
It's today, DJ.
Yeah,
Don't forget.
but I really yeah, like this Ottawa team has not been very good, and if they are going to be good, then they need Carlson all over the ice making plays. He's had a couple of games. If you look at his like last 10 games, it's like one block shot, one block shot, one block shot, 8 block shots, one block shot, one block shot, four. Like I do believe that a team like Boston, who might be a little bit puck dominant overall in this game, with Carlson getting the minutes, he could definitely find more blocks and hopefully get some power play opportunity or some opportunity versus some of these weaker lines for Boston to exploit them and get some shots on net. So yeah, I think we kind of covered all the actual plays in this game. I don't think I'm going to go
Yeah,
anywhere else.
yeah,
So do you guys want to move right on?
yeah. Let's do it. To Detroit at New Jersey. I mean, probably the key piece of news here is the status of Kyle Palmieri. First line, first power play Palmieri, priced at 5,200. So, just another guy who is massively underpriced given like the shot floor and the production he's had in the past. So, I really like that play. But he left last game in the third period. Coach called it precautionary, but we haven't gotten an update since. So, that'll be something that I'm interested to follow. Maybe mornings or like their morning skate or whatever. Like probably should get that information rather soon, so it might even be out by the time you're listening to this. But that's really the main key for me. And if he's out, you get some value, and a guy like Jesper Bratt looks to be,
That,
would be playing alongside Hall and Heischer. So
yeah, no, I think you nailed it. New Jersey's kind of another team it really feels like it's the top two lines or nothing. So I'm definitely interested in Taylor Hall. I feel like he's just a good pivot play a lot of times. At that price, like most times at like 7-1, people are going to be on those real top guys. You know what I mean? Like people are going to be like, you know what, Hall. I think I'll just go Kessel. I go with that Pittsburgh one exposure, which is not a bad move at all. But in GPP, sometimes we got Taylor Hall going against a team like Detroit, a team that really isn't good. He's an excellent player. I mean, I really like him when he's down. I know earlier in the year he was down at like 6-1, and he was an absolute like almost must play. But I think he's more of a pivot than like a lock him in type of guy like Hoffman at his price,
mhm,
if that makes sense. It
I think
makes
so.
sense. Like I think it's probably smarter to maybe go with like Wheeler against Edmonton or something like that. Like that might be like the optimal play, like the more statistically driven type of thing. Like Wheeler's pretty high on the sim. I don't really know. Taylor Hall's right in that kind of like upper echelon range. I mean, the pickle rating has him just below Carlson and just below Palmieri. Palmieri kind of being that like really nice value play. But that whole Palmieri stack could be absolutely lethal tomorrow, I think. So it's worth considering.
Yeah, and then, you kind of mentioned that its first two lines are bust. I mean, I think that's kind of the case with almost every player on almost every team. So, interestingly, Detroit has a couple guys who are like top six forwards that are really really cheap. We've talked about Tatar on the last show. He's 4,200, a bit more expensive than the 3,900 he was at, but he is first line with Dylan Larkin and first power play with Zetterberg. So the Larkin does not play on that first unit, which is kind of bewildering, but so it goes. Even Gus Nyquist at 4,600 isn't terrible. I don't think he's a great value there, but I think that's a decent price. And then Justin Abdelkader is horrendous at hockey, but he's playing first line with Larkin and Tatar as of last game, and he's playing first power play with Tatar, and he is 3,200. Like, yes, he's not giving you any sort of floor, but if he can just tip a shot on the goalie and either get an assist or a goal based off of that, there's your entire game right there. So I think he's someone that like is really takes a lot of guts to stomach rostering, but he's certainly in a position to do something like point wise. So I think he has a little bit of GPP upside if you're looking for a cheap guy who plays a pretty significant role for his team, despite being like objectively bad.
Yeah, and if you want the ultimate punt, Tyler Bertuzzi saw 17.6 minutes last game at 2,800. I That was his second game playing. He had zero power play time. But Todd Bertuzzi, I'm guessing you can imagine his dad is Todd Bertuzzi, and that's correct. But Tyler Bertuzzi, I think I might have just called him Todd Bertuzzi too.
I
Tyler
think so.
Bertuzzi, I think I called him Tyler Bertuzzi and then Todd Bertuzzi, and then I'm like, his dad's Todd Bertuzzi. Um, his name is Tyler. He's 2,800. I mean, I don't know if he'll get the 17.6 minutes again. I also don't know where he's going to slot into the lineup, being as any changes could be made. I mean, we're talking about Abdelkader. Like Bertuzzi could just as easily move up, and bump Abdelkader to line 3. I don't think he'll bump him off the power play because that's the net front present guy, and I don't think Tyler Bertuzzi is that kind of player. Um, Actually, you know what? To be honest, we don't know anything about Tyler Bertuzzi as what his DFS build is going to be. I know he was having a pretty good year in Grand Rapids. They called him up. You know, I wouldn't even be surprised if I heard today that he got called back down. So just keep an eye on
Yeah,
any Detroit news.
no news at all. So
There's nothing, I'm guessing. So
yeah,
I would just like if you have 2,800 and you're obsessed with your lineup, and I would look into Detroit, look at Tyler Bertuzzi, um, and just give him a consideration. I mean, it's a guy looking for his first NHL goal. He has what 14 points in 16 games in Grand Rapids before he got called up. So I don't know.
yeah.
Not
Um,
really a lethal goal scorer, but he's a player. He's worth mentioning.
he is a player indeed. All right.
It,
That's pretty much everyone from that game for me. I don't think Athanasiu or Larkin are playing significant enough power play roles or roles in general to be like Athanasiu only saw 8 minutes last game, so really not much
that is
interest
true.
there. Even though I do think New Jersey is one of like the top matchups that I would play a team in that I normally don't play a team. So in general, I'm usually fading Detroit anyways, but I think in this matchup you can get away with some of their bigger time on ice guys and just hope that this game turns into a kind of fun up and down the ice the way New Jersey's been playing this season. But let's move on to Buffalo at the Islanders. I mean, we know the Islanders are one of the top teams to game stack, having been a finalist in our midseason superlatives top team onslaught. That we recorded on yesterday's podcast. So check that out if you have not yet. But the Buffalo Sabres, I mean, there's really only a guy, like really the only guy you're interested in is Eichel. Do you think he's priced fairly enough? I mean, he is extremely hot over the last 10 games, but most of that comes from an 18.5 point effort against the Carolina Hurricanes. Like, is
Yeah,
there enough in his profile that you think he's in play at, a pretty substantial center price on a slate with a lot of good players?
yeah. I think that's kind of the issue is that I feel like in GPPs I'm gonna want to like stack one of these centers with their line mates for the most part. And with Eichel, I don't know. I honestly, to be honest, again, like we don't exactly know what his line mates will be, but if it's Reinhart Gergensons, I just don't think I can do that to myself. Like last game it was Gergensons Reinhardt at least, and nah, I mean that's risky. I know Gergensons had a goal assisted by Eichel where Eichel made a great play. Whatever, I'm just not doing it. I like Eichel a lot. I do think he's not out of play ever, if that makes sense. Like he's never a bad option with his shot production. Um, and the fact that the Islanders goaltending has been so bad that a guy that and honestly the Islanders defensively just haven't been that good. I think their defense is I would say it's pretty middle of the road, but once you get past kind of their first pairing, I think it's not great to weak. So I don't hate Eichel as a play, but I don't think in GPPs I'll have too much exposure to him because I'm really gonna want to stack. And I really would rather maybe get a guy like I don't know, like Sagan or not, probably not Sagan. I don't know. You know what? It's tough. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about Eichel? I mean, it just doesn't feel like the best spot for him, but it honestly might be a sneaky play because like no one will have against the Islanders.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a guy that I'm going to continue like just jamming in because he's been getting so unlucky this year. Like you look at his secondary assists, and I think he has like two all year, and like he's always around the puck for them. So I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. But you just simply can't predict secondary points. And yes, the Sabres are pretty terrible, but Eichel is amazing. So I certainly have no problem playing him against a team that's given up a lot of fantasy points. Like Eichel's gonna shoot the puck, so I think he makes for a really nice play here until he, I do think Crosby at 7.5 is well worth a look as well, just because that's kind of, he and Tavares are kind of the dudes, and they're not that much more expensive than Eichel is. So,
Yeah,
but with that
I
said, I
really
think
like
Eichel,
Tavares tomorrow.
yeah, like I think he's a really good play though because this is one of the better
Yeah,
matchups. Even if Vegas is not a big fan of it, like I think that the Islanders giving up so many goals like they do is just really going to come in handy for this matchup. So it's a lot of
yeah,
time to spend talking about a terrible Buffalo Sabres team, but
yeah. No.
let's go to the Islanders side because yes, we have John Tavares as the most expensive center on the night, but we have his line mates in Josh Bailey and Anders Lee. Justin Bailey is or sorry, Josh Bailey is 6,900, and Anders Lee, with his 25% shooting percentage, as you pointed out yesterday, DJ, is 6,700. Like, are you
Yeah.
playing these guys? Like, is this reasonable? Their
No.
prices? I
I,
mean,
I, I just don't think you can on this big of a slate. I mean, they're not in my favorite matchup. The Sabres are going to really slow the pace the best they can. I think they're going to do everything they possibly can in their power to take away from that top unit. I know they're on the road, so it's like you can't really line match. I understand that, but they're going to do everything they can to probably get that O'Reilly unit out against Tavares' unit. I can't imagine they. I just don't think it's a smash spot for the unit. I really do like Tavares as a play in general, but I feel like it's just like I'm not stacking that whole line. Um, I think that this game does have some like potential to be maybe looking at the second power play unit for the Islanders and maybe considering like uh Pollock and I don't know.
yeah,
So,
buddy.
like I just think Pollock might be like the guy if he's gonna continue to get these minutes. Like the more I look into it, I think that's more the guy I want in this game. In cash as like a contrarian. But I don't even know how contrarian it will be. The thing is like you never really know what the masses are gonna think on a player. I mean, like Pollock is 3,200. He's getting 17 to 18 minutes, power play two time. Um, he's kind of hit or miss on how many shots he gets, but he's been blocking a ton of shots as of late. So I think he's safe enough. But that's kind of where I'm looking in this game. I don't think it's going to be very high pace. Um, I don't know. That's my initial thoughts, at least.
Yeah, if I play Tavares, I'm doing it solo. Just
Yeah,
because I, like I get that Bailey and Lee have been outstanding. Even Matt Barzal at 5,800 on that first power play, but you're really banking on two or three goals out of that line for all of them to meet value. And that's just something I don't like. I just hate doing that in general. Like, you can get guys that are superstars for mid fives in Hoffman and Raquel and even Palmieri's, like legitimately good. So spending way up for guys that have lower shot floors, even if they are in better matchups with better line mates, like I just will always, always, always take the guys that have proven track record and a lower price rather than guys who are riding hot streaks at elevated prices. So, but Tavares is an incredible play. I think if you're playing cash, he's the cash center, and I don't think you should be too worried about last game Barzell getting the hat trick or whatever. Like that was just a massive fluke. The offense is going to run through Tavares from here going forward, as it has, in the past. So I think that he's the cash lock here, with Eichel being a very, very strong GPP play and even a cash viable play, like given his shot floor and the struggles of the Islanders to
yeah,
contain their opposition.
yeah. I just think as like a note, on this slate, I think there's enough value at wing where I'd spend up at center.
Mhm.
I think the center plays are where you want to spend up. So that's why I think Eichel's in play, just because I think you can find the cash to get up to him and I would not in like I just the guys in like the 5,000s range. It's just none of them really interest me too much. Unless there's some news breaks about like Draisaitl being with McDavid or something like that, then it really feels like a slate I'm going to want to spend up on center. So, but we can move on to the next game. I think you really covered everything else in there, and I think this next game's pretty interesting. So,
Yeah, we've got let's see, I don't remember the order. It's Columbus at Pittsburgh.
yep,
Columbus dealing with a host of injuries. Cam Atkinson, Alex Wenberg, and Dubinsky are all out long term now. So I believe the first two were over the Christmas break. That was kind of like became known. So we haven't seen lines yet for Columbus, but it really condenses the player pool that they have to pick from in making their top six basically. So we're almost certainly looking at the Panarin, Dubois, Anderson line as their first line, first power play. Like they'll pretty much stick together, I think. But then we have Boone Jenner and Foligno. They were playing with Cam Atkinson last game. The options for them to call up to this top six playing about 20 minutes, given last game's time on ice split, their options are either Bjorkstrand, Matt Calvert, uh, Hannah Kynan, or Tyler Mott. Like that screams to me Oliver Bjorkstrand is going to be top six against a Pittsburgh team that just is really bad on defense. Like they are not good. Um, Bjorkstrand was also on the first power play last time out, so I think that'll stay the same. We might be looking at Oliver Bjorkstrand sub 4,000 in one of the best spots on the slate, and I don't think people will play him.
yeah.
So
I mean, I totally agree. I guess I just was saying like the 5K centers. There's really nothing there. I think Dubois at 5K though is the one center that really consider. He is just kind of in a tear as of late. Definitely getting the minutes. He has like in the past 2 games, he has 5 shots on goal and 5 shots on goal. One of those games was at Pittsburgh as well. Um, so I do think Dubois is definitely a play at 5K, especially with his line mates because they're gonna get like a ton of minutes. And then yeah, I think Bjorkstrand's like almost too obvious of a play. Like I feel like if
yeah,
you're making a cash lineup and you start with Bjorkstrand, that could be smart. Like
yeah. I
his
mean,
minutes have been down, his shots on goal have been down, but like this is the spot. Like when he gets the minutes, like he is firing. And I don't exactly know what the power play is going to look like, but he'll be on the first unit.
yeah. So I think the only thing that might hurt Bjorkstrand's catch viability is if someone like Sonny Milano, who just got called up, gets put under that second line. But I don't see that happening. Like as much as Torts is kind of like uh, kind of buried Bjorkstrand. Like honestly, I think he's really not a fan of Milano, like all around game. So I don't think that'll be an issue, but keep an eye on that if you do end up playing Bjorkstrand. Just make sure that he's listed in pregame warmups or whatever alongside that top six line. Because that's probably the main difference. That's probably about 3 to 4 minutes worth of time on ice difference, whether he is or whether he isn't. So uh, just another name that could jump up there that I did not mention.
And what do you
Uh,
think about Jenner at 4,400? I mean, I remember we were really riding him when he came back from his injury earlier in the year. I mean, that was seems like forever ago now. He was firing the puck at will. Still kind of has that those minutes and the shots that you might want.
yeah,
Few block shots in there. Does he get penalty kill time?
uh, yeah, he gets a
Yeah,
good amount of penalty kill time. I'm pretty sure.
he's
So
kind of I feel like everywhere.
yeah,
Okay,
like
go on though.
what I think what the issue is with Jenner is that like he's centered by Nick Foligno, so there's not really anyone to create offense around him. Like when he was playing with Dubinsky and Atkinson, that was kind of fun. But I think given that he's going to be playing with Foligno and then Bjorkstrand or whatever, I'm just not too keen on wasting, on using two wing spots here on uh, Columbus guys, given that I love pretty much my top wingers on this slate are Ovi, Hoffman, Palmieri, and Raquel. So that's four already. I'm not really sure where even a guy like Bjorkstrand, like jamming him in where that fits. So Jenner kind of falls to the wayside for me for that reason. Um, but I certainly get that he has some appeal as a shot floor. Gonna play a bunch of minutes, but until he's like first power play or like somehow manages to play with like Panarin or something. I don't think he's like a must play by any means. So I'm staying away personally. But I think the more interesting is, Pittsburgh with all of these injuries to Columbus. Because
Yeah,
Columbus has been one of the best teams in the league in terms of like 5-on-5 defense, essentially, and they have Bobrovsky. So like that's a really tough spot for anyone. Pittsburgh, their last game before the break, got shut out by the Anaheim Ducks. So I think there's more than enough reason here to just completely stay away from these guys at really elevated prices, as people love, 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 love flocking to the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you look right now, they're not even in a playoff spot. Like they have
very
not
true.
been good this year. So I, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like this game a lot. I mean, I think that there's a lot of value to be had. Obviously, not on the Pittsburgh side. I really don't know what Pittsburgh's lines are going to be. If you look at daily faceoff, they have Crosby, Gensel, and Rust as the first line, with Malkin, Hornqvist, and Hagelin as the second. So that wasn't really what they ran last game, and I haven't really seen any news on what they're going to run. It looks like Russ kind of got moved, and like I don't know, I have no idea what they're gonna run. But is there any one player, maybe if you were like kind of building your lineup and you're at like you just is there one player on Pittsburgh that you're considering over the others?
Um, Over the others, I think Hornqvist still, his price is kind of, I mean, it's still up there, almost 6,000, but I think he's kind of the guy, like the net front guy in the power play still. As long as he's playing with either Crosby or Malkin, I think he has massive upside. So I think he's a fine play. I'm not paying 7,000 for the likes of Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, just because I think they'll be expensive, or sorry, popular.
Highly owned. Yeah,
Yeah. So, I'm staying away from that personally, but I think you can get away with someone like Hornqvist. But again, that's not a place, it's not a place I'm going to. So let's move on to Montreal, Carolina. I think we're kind of drawing out a lot of these early games. So,
that's true.
excuse me. Shea Weber remains out for the Montreal Canadiens. I, I guess that means Jeff Petrie right back in there. Um, his price has kind of gone up over the past few games, but he's been good. I mean, he had uh, in their Western Conference road trip with Weber out, he put up last 3 games. He put up 7.5 on a goal assist and 5 blocks plus shots, 4 blocks plus shots for a 2 fantasy point game, and then 10 shots on goal against the Edmonton Oilers the day before the break. So I mean, Jeff Petrie, 4,200, playing about 24, 25 minutes, and the featured offensive defenseman for them. Man, I can't get this frog out of my throat. But anyways, is Jeff
Really
Petrie
attractive.
like a top value defenseman here for you, or are you just kind of over this whole chasing Jeff Petrie game that we love to play?
Um, it really does feel like that kind of a game. I still think Petrie is a fine play. What's Fowler's price comparatively? Because I feel like those are kind of the two guys in this range. Yeah, they're the exact same price.
Yeah,
I kind of like Fowler more than Petrie. I don't think that's crazy to say. So I feel like if it was between the two, I'd go Fowler. Um, but nothing against Petrie at all. I mean, I just feel like this Carolina team. I would say if like we were talking about enigmas last podcast, like the Carolina Hurricanes are my biggest enigma of a team in general. So I really don't like to play against them that much. As a personal note, it's not bad. Their goaltending has been horrific, but I think that could bounce back a little bit. Um, yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
feel
fair.
like this game for me is just nothing that I'm overly interested in. I think it'll be somewhat low scoring. There's really no players that are jumping off the page to me. If Duren's with Pacioretty, I'm not opposed to maybe giving that a second look. I'd like to see Pacioretty with a good center. On the Carolina side, Skinner is always a play, but I really don't want to stack him with Rasker Lindholm. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, this
Justin
seems kind
Falk
of yeah.
has been
Oh yeah,
amazing.
Falk
Like,
too as well.
just
Oh my
last
god,
two
he's four thousand
games.
one hundred.
Yeah, like his
He's
price
cheap.
has
Oh god,
fallen so much
I
because,
keep
like,
forgetting how cheap he is.
yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, before, 2 games ago, basically, in 33 games, he had 7 points. Like, I,
Yeah,
that's
it's true.
really, really scary. Um, it's awesome to see that, I guess he was feeling it against Buffalo. 7 shots on goal, 2 goals, even picked up 2 block shots for a 10.5 fantasy point night. Like that is awesome. Like 4.1. Justin Falk makes a ton of sense. Um, but like we've seen a lot of games where Justin Falk has a cushy matchup or whatever. Like he's played this role the entire season and he's simply not done anything with it. So I'm a bit hesitant to play Falk personally, just because, like you said, I don't think this game is very high event or anything like that. So, I think Falk makes a lot of sense, but also is someone that I'm a bit more hesitant to play than I might be, given that he's struggled to generate offense, like, all season, essentially.
Yeah, no, it's a confusing game. What do you think though about Montreal? I mean, in general, their offensive line. I mean, looking at their
I
daily faceoff, not daily faceoff, their hockey viz last game, it looks like there might be some correlation between Jura and Pacioretty and Gallagher as a top unit. I mean, is there any interest in that unit?
I'm I think mm, I think in a different matchup, maybe, but on the road in Carolina, I don't think I enjoy the prices on Gallagher. Like the patches is okay, I guess, but like he's really not been doing much. Like he's not been productive. Like they're trying to get him going. So it's good to see that he's back on like a first power play role because even that was an issue as of the last week or two. But I in general, I don't think this line is worth spending what the cumulative 19,000 for if you roster all of them. Not 19, geez, 16,000 if you roster all of them. Like I think there's better ways to do that. Cough, cough, Anaheim. Um, so you know, but I think that it is something to monitor going forward. So maybe if they have a better home matchup in the future or something, and Druin, Pacioretty, Gallagher are all playing together, that could be a fun little line to stack and just get a lot of shots, hopefully pick up a couple goals and go from there.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah, I feel like I already said it. Like this game's whatever. So why don't we just move on? I know we're taking forever on some of these games. So do you want to just keep going?
Yeah, Washington Rangers. Rangers have been the absolute worst team in the NHL in allowing expected goals per 60 this season. Um, they've just been horrific as of late. Like they were coming up on Anaheim like maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Anaheim kind of found it. The Rangers fell off the rails entirely, so now they're just way too much being allowed by the New York Rangers. I love playing Alex Ovechkin at 8,000. Like, I think there's a lot of value here at every position. So, yeah, I mean, it does make sense to spend up for 2 centers or whatever. But I also do think you can get away with a guy like Dubois, an expensive center, a wing guy, basically an Ovechkin, and then a bunch of mid tier wings. And you still have enough for a decent goalie and some decent defensemen. Like that's the way I'm definitely looking at attacking this slate because Ovechkin is just going to smash the New York Rangers. They do not know what's coming. They cannot play defense. I think they scratch the Zibanejad last game or something ridiculous like that.
Something.
I
Hold on. Let me pull it up. We
Yeah,
had
he
that
played
line
12 minutes in
confirmation.
their
Yeah,
most recent
something
game.
happened. Yeah.
Like
Um,
get out of here. They're
we do
so
have line
bad.
confirmation
So
on
bad.
the Capitals. So the Capitals are going to run pretty much the exact same unit as we saw last game with Ovechkin, Backstrom, Wilson, Vrana, Kuznetsov, and Oshie, and then yeah, like Orlov with Niskanen, Juice with Carlson. That's how we're saying it. The DJOOS. I guess it's Juice.
Yep.
Just like how Cheidel is Heedle. I don't know if anyone's watching the World Juniors, but
Also a
how's
Rangers connection there.
the Rangers? I remember because we called him Cheidel, and then
Yeah.
like I'm watching the game, and
Yeah.
they're like Heedle, and I'm like,
Who?
who is this Heedle guy? Because like, there's no way.
Danny
And like
Heatley?
I saw a few different people tweeting about it, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. I wanted to tweet at Bob McKenzie and be like, dude, like, are you just like, are you immune to saying CH? Is that not a thing? Or okay, but anyways, back to this game. Yeah, I'm definitely down with riding some Washington. Um, it does sound like Grubauer is projected to start at 7,200. I know it's on the road in New York, but I don't hate that kind of a play because I think Washington has a good chance to get the win here. And at 7,200, like think he could do a lot worse. This is not
Yeah, for
confirmed
sure.
yet, and by the time you listen to this, there might be confirmation, but it it does look like they're going to save Holtby for their next game against the Bruins, is what I read. Um, so I know we don't talk about goalies, but I'll at least mention that if you're listening to this and you haven't done any research yet. But what about? I was looking at defensemen. What do you think about these Washington point men? Is there anyone that interests you? I mean, Niskanen, Orlov. I know Orlov had that highlight reel goal, or I mean, to use Jermaine Carlson.
I mean, I love John Carlson. He's been really, really good over his last 10 games too. Not only is he at 26 shots over those 10 games, but he's at 20 block shots as well. So when you can get a flow like that, along with power play one exposure to Ovechkin, again against a team that's been giving up so much defensively, like I think he's a good bet to get a point and just rack up some blocks, some shots in a matchup that I think should be a fun one. So it is pricey, so I don't think he's like a must play by any means. And I do think Eric Carlson at 6.2, as I mentioned earlier, is like a better math play. But John Carlson, I think, has a lot of upside here, and stacking him with Ovi makes a lot of sense. And you just kind of hope that they come up with a nice power play goal or something.
Yeah.
But
Also, we did get some news that broke on Montreal. Do you mind if I go back really quick, or do you want to finish?
go
Do
for it.
you have anything else from this game? Do you want to finish it up first, or?
No, no, I don't have anything else.
Yeah. So the news that just broke is that not only is Shea Weber out, but also Schlemko. So that might boost the minutes of Petrie even more. Alesh Hemsky might not be that important, but he's also out, and El Montoya is out. So you can pretty much lock in either Niemi, hopefully, LOL, or Price, which is definitely going to be your starter in my opinion. So yeah, I think that game is pretty much Petrie, and if you consider getting a little bit risky, but Petrie might really see like 28, 29 minutes now. So just wanted to point that out. I feel like you covered this Washington New York Rangers game. I don't know. I don't really have much to add.
Yeah,
I'm not that interested in.
AV
Yeah,
is messing with the Rangers line so much that you literally cannot predict their workload. I don't think any of them are catch viable or even GPP viable plays at this juncture. So I'm just going to completely fade them and just,
yep,
go with that. So
yeah, I'm down
Nashville
with that.
at St. Louis. St. Louis is kind of fallen off without Jaden Schwartz. I mean, one might suspect that losing Schwartz really hurts a team. Um,
They
you know,
lost their Schwartz or eat their Schwartz. Darn it. I don't know. I don't really watch The Simpsons. I just wanted to try something.
I mean, I can respect it. Like,
You got to go with it.
you can lose your shorts like at a casino or something.
Yeah,
I think that's a phrase that's used
that's a
sometimes.
phrase. I'm
Yeah,
proud of
good job,
myself.
DJ.
Thank you.
Good job, DJ. Um,
I
but
did
yeah,
good.
so with Schwartz going out, I mean, I remember looking at every matchup or every day on the sim, it would be like Braden Chen, like Nikita Kucherov, Steven Stan, like up there in that range. Shen's projection has fallen a little bit. I think primarily due to the fact that he's almost 7,000 now. Um, but still, like, do you think that the Shen Tarasenko pairing is worth pursuing, or I kind of on the side that this is not the matchup you want to do it in, and I want to see St. Louis actually start dominating some teams before I go back to it.
Yeah, I mean, Braden Chen is literally, I feel like the definition on this slate of you're playing it with Tarasenko as where if you had 6'9" left in a cash game lineup, like you gotta play Eichel. I don't think there's really a even like a I mean like if you had 100 more, like Bergeron could be considered over Eichel, but like
Yeah,
you're playing Bergeron or Eichel there, you're not playing Shen. I just don't see why you would go with Shen over either of them. Like Tarasenko could be just fine on his own. Berglund being the other guy on that unit right now. Berglund at 3,300. He had a goal last two games. Um, I mean, like he's there. Like I don't hate him as a play. I know like another really, really, really cheap option in Berglund. But yeah, I'm not that interested in Shen um at all. No. To answer your
yeah,
question.
yeah. I mean, it's nice to see that Berglund playing with Tarasenko and
Like I think Berglund's a good
uh,
player. Like I feel like he's just underrated. I mean he's way underpriced. He's not on that first power play unit. He's on the second unit, which features the likes of Sabotka, Poryeko, Edmondson, and Tage Thompson. Another kind of interesting guy that we should probably mention. Tage Thompson. What he is a rookie. I think he's only like 20 years old. He's been getting
Yeah,
like 16 minutes ish. I would say you can floor him at about 13 to 15 in that range. Um, had his first goal of the season against Edmonton. I know there's one fan of the Blues in our chat that loves him. I'm never going to think of who it is right now.
I
Is
can't
it Tom?
remember.
Uh, yeah, I can't keep track of all that in my head right now. But I know one person was like, "Yeah, he is so much fun to watch." Because I mean, I try to catch a lot of games. The Blues games are more of like a, only if I have a Tarasenko stack do I watch. So I really got to check them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that if you want to get cheap exposure, you probably go with Berglund. Um, with Tarasenko. But yeah, this game overall, it's just like I don't know. I feel like even the cheaper options like Craig Smith and Fiala are definitely priced up now. They got a huge like if you want to talk about winners and losers of that three team blockbuster trade, like getting Turris has really helped that second line for Nashville produce some goals. Do you have any interest in that second line for Nashville?
Uh, Not really. I think that St. Louis is still a team that I'm a little bit weary of, stacking against basically. And I don't think that any of their prices are like all that reasonable. I mean, Fiala is at
Yeah.
like 5,800, Craig Smith's at 5,200. Like, just I think that the triumvirate that I mentioned earlier in Raquel Hoffman, Palmieri, just much better plays. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I think
But
that that
I'll
would be great.
second I'll echo your thoughts on Berglund. I think he's a really really nice way to just basically fill out your center position. That might be the way to get a guy like Ovi in your wing spot without punting defense or whatever. Like I think Berglund's a nice enough player. Like he's pretty good. Like he's nothing crazy, but if he's playing 16 minutes alongside that Shen Tarasenko duo and getting power play 2 time, I think you can do much worse. So, all right, any other thoughts here?
No, I think we're good. I think we can move on.
All right. Let's go to Dallas at Minnesota. If any of you are astutely, keeping an eye on what the sim tells you to play, you may notice that in this matchup, Matt Dumba is one of the top plays on the entire slate for his pickle score. Certainly is the highest defenseman, which is
And
kind of
Matt, really
amazing.
quickly, what can you describe pickle really quick if we have any newer listeners that are like, what in the world are they talking about?
It's essentially if you've not seen the sim, go to our website morningskatepod.com/the-sim. Pretty easy to find once you get to our website. But uh, Doug's projections, it basically projects for it takes into account your salary, your line, your power play, and then your overall DFS like build, so like shot rate, points per 60, that kind of thing. And essentially, given each matchup, it projects how likely you are to meet your salary expectation. And so basically, there's two things that factor into the sim. It's how likely are you to meet your salary expectation? That's called the frequency. And then the magnitude is when you beat your salary expectation, how many points do you average? Essentially, I think there's a little bit more involved in that, but that's a really good way to think about it. And so the things we have on the site are called payoff, which is simply multiplying the two. So the higher numbers are better. And then we have leverage, which takes into account projected ownership and payoff. They kind of get a sense of, you know, where the low owned, high upside plays are living. And then there's pickle score, which Doug kind of invented to show off who are the better cash plays. So it kind of places more of an emphasis on the frequency aspect of it. And essentially, it's just done a really, really nice job of highlighting the best players on a specific slate. So, like here, we're looking at the top of the list being Tavares, Pasternak, Marchand, Ovechkin. Down the list a little bit, but 4,700, Matt Dumba, uh, eighth best player on the slate, best defenseman by a long shot. I mean, Roman Yossi's a few spots behind him, and then the next guy is Suter. So really, really nice spot for Matt Dumba, who, even though Spurgeon's come back, Dumba's still playing a ton of minutes. He's kept his first power play role. So I think that Dumba makes a lot of sense here against the Dallas team that loves to push the pace. Hitchcock has kind of mitigated some of that funness of the Stars games, but they're still allowing a good amount of offense from all areas of the ice. And I think that Dumba, given his concentrated workload makes sense, and definitely a sim special on this Wednesday slate.
Yeah. So outside of Dumba, is there anyone on Minnesota maybe that you're interested in? I mean, like they're pretty. I feel like their prices have come down a fair amount. I see Nino Niederreiter with a day to day next to him, but I don't think
Yeah,
I'm
he's
not worried about
hurt.
that. Is he coming back though?
Uh,
Looks like he was
I
coming
don't
back.
think so. Is he? Okay.
All right.
I thought he was out.
Well, I don't know for sure. I'll look into it. But while you, I mean,
I don't
the
know.
Minnesota prices seem really
He,
cheap right now.
yeah, I mean the only issue I have with that is already. I mean it's 9:30 on Wednesday morning, and we've seen Minnesota open at minus 140, and then some serious reverse line movement has brought them all the way down to minus 117. So, like the sharps are loving Dallas here. And, you know, with what I was saying about Ken Hitchcock, I do think that's a little bit of a fallacy that they're like the full on go, go, go team that they were the past few seasons. Like they're definitely more middle of the pack now. So
Mhm.
I just, you know, again, I think we've just found so many other strong value plays that there's no need to go diving against, you know, for a Minnesota team that's really not been all that productive at all. And then the one guy who has been, Eric Stahl, is 6,500. So I just don't think that's a really strong play by any means.
All right. So what about on the Dallas side? Are you interested in? I mean, I feel like this game to you is already kind of coming out to be like a maybe not your favorite to a fade type of game. But is there anyone on Dallas that
Um,
you're interested in?
yeah, I feel like Jason Spezza makes sense given that he's on the first power play here, but he's now playing on the fourth line, which I mean, riddle me that. Like, oh, he's good enough to be on the first power play now, but oh nope, not enough to play more than 10 minutes a night. So
Yeah.
that right away kind of sucks. I wish Matthias Janmark was on that first power play because he is awesome. Um,
Mhm.
so I think he makes a little bit of sense. He's either playing with Sagan or Ben Radulov, given last game's construction. So he's a player that I think that, you know, if you played him, you know, over and over and over again for the next X amount of days, you would probably be happy with it, just because he's really talented and he's playing a pretty nice 5-on-5 role. Um, but certainly nowhere close to a must play. And I think guys like Bjorkstrand
Yeah.
are better values in general. So
Yeah, I think this game's
really,
pretty much GPP only outside of Dumba. Like where Dumba, I think,
right.
could be a cash viable option for sure. So, I mean, the another interesting note is Tyler Ennis on their first power play now. I mean, I don't think he's really in play, but for Minnesota, that's the
He might have
face
taken
off.
over
Yeah,
with Nino being out.
yeah. So
Yeah,
Tyler Ennis had eight total minutes of ice time with like four of them being on the power play.
yeah.
Classic. Okay, never mind. I was interested in that, but now I'm really not. Tyler Ennis has
Yeah.
got to be
All
like
right.
$0.
All right. Let's wrap up these last three before we kill the listener and murder their workplace productivity. Let's do Edmonton at Winnipeg.
Okay.
Uh,
You want me to
Clefbaum
start?
being on IR.
Never mind. I was
Oh,
gonna say that.
uh,
No, that was fine.
oh,
And
okay,
who took
okay.
over for him on the power play?
Andre Sekera, as we've discussed. Um, you know, that's certainly interesting. I don't think that Clefbaum is anything special to make, you know, with Clefbaum being at 5,000, he wasn't really producing. But you look at last year when he was producing, I don't think Sekera is any better or any worse than Clefbaum. So, given the role alongside McDavid on, I guess, a middle of the road power play right now, but still, I think he makes a lot of sense. You know, we've run across a lot of guys at
Yeah, that's
4,200
what I was gonna
now.
say. It's like a magical price tomorrow.
Yeah.
Today.
Um,
Today.
today,
Yeah,
yesterday.
wow, it's literally today. Not only should I probably call it today because you're gonna listen to it. Anyway, so yeah, like I feel like he's just not as good of an option at the same price as Falk, Fowler, and Petrie.
Yeah.
I think he's probably like the fourth in line there. He's kind of like, are you stacking Edmonton's first power play? Yes or no? Yes, consider him. No, don't consider him. He's got 0 shots on goal since coming back from injury. I don't know about his shot attempts. I do not have that up right now. I'm pretty
Uh,
sure you haven't put that on your new laptop yet.
I have not,
So
sadly.
Yeah, that's one thing we might not be discussing too
And
much on this show
yeah,
because
and what's this, with a 3 game break, it does not take into account that like the last 10 days includes 3 days where there's
oh
no
yeah,
hockey at all.
that's probably
So
true.
it's kind of a bit skewed anyways for the next few days.
So unless if Sakara has just been the most unlucky player and actually has a million shot attempts that just aren't finding the net somehow, like I just don't see it. Yeah, but overall this game, um, what are your feelings on the Winnipeg 1 and Winnipeg 2? There's really
Uh,
not much value on, but what do you think?
well, first, I do think that Draisaitl for the Oilers makes a bit of sense. Like he's not playing with McDavid on the first power play, but I mean he's not playing with him on the first line, but he is on the
Yeah,
first power play. And Draisaitl's been picking up a ton of assists lately, and he's shooting the puck a good amount. So I love getting guys like that because, like, yes, the assists may dry up, but those shots will turn into goals sooner rather than later. So I think
yeah. I
that
mean,
Draisaitl makes some sense as a cheap center
I've
play.
been on yeah, I've been on the Draisaitl train. I think I played him in his last 3 games because each time I keep playing him, he's doing well, first off. And then second off, it's like I just really can't wait for him to get back on a line with McDavid after like the first period of a game and
Yeah,
then just rake. So I've been riding Draisaitl and normally with McDavid for a while now. I don't think I'll come off of it, especially if I make multiple lineups. Like Winnipeg at home, I know it's like a bit of a scary matchup, but I'm not that afraid.
yeah,
So yeah, I really like Draisaitl. I mean, Shifley, as we always mention, is very GPP only with his line mates. I like Wheeler and Line A just fine, and Ellers. I even like Kyle Connor. Okay, I mean, I like everyone, but I like this game. What's Vegas saying about this game as far as
Um,
projected
yeah. I mean, it's
whatnots?
not. It the 5.5 and the over is favored, which makes it one of the better games on the night. If you look around the NHL, only the only games that are either tied or slightly better. There's no 6 over-unders currently. I think that'll change, but 5.5 over with the over more favored than this game. The only ones are Vegas, Anaheim, and Buffalo Islanders. So,
Yeah.
it's right up there with those games in terms of expected pace. By Vegas, I can kind of see it, but I respect Winnipeg too much at this juncture to really think that jamming in Edmonton is a smart idea. And Winnipeg's prices in general are just a little bit too high for me, given the way that I'm envisioning my lineups going with OV and then a bunch of mid tier guys. Like I don't really think that this Wheeler range, like line A, like I don't really think that they're gonna fit into my lineup the way that I'm envisioning it currently.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah. Is there anything else on maybe the defensive side for
Uh
Winnipeg? I don't think we
Bufflin,
touched on anyone.
yeah, I mean Bufflin's still out, so Truba's price has gone up a good amount. And he hasn't really been all that productive, especially offensively. Um, but he makes sense, I think, still sub 5K. If you are into this Winnipeg matchup, like just do take that bit of advice because Truba's pretty good and he's in a really nice spot with the first power play now. So I think he's certainly worth a look. But let's knock out these last 2 games. Arizona, Colorado. It just go back to I mean, maybe there's some retribution here. Did you see what Zach Ronaldo did?
Oh my
What
God.
Saturday?
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean, yeah, the sucker punch, and on top of that, like I feel like they like scheduled like an extreme like personal meeting with him, so he'll probably be out for like ever. Like
yeah, he
not that
is.
that matters DFS wise, but that was a really really bad play.
Yeah, that was disgusting. I'm not seeing anything on McKinnon, which was what I was kind of worried about. Like because McKinnon only played 8 minutes last game. I do believe I want to say he ended up leaving the game. I'm not still not seeing anything on Twitter. So with the Avs beat writers being horrific like they are, I'm not even sure if we'll get any of that information.
Who
Um,
knows?
but I think if McKinnon is out, that makes this Arizona team much more attractive, just because the Colorado side is kind of priced up, especially McKinnon. But if McKinnon's out, I mean, there goes almost the entirety of their offense, basically, and I think it really hurts their defense as well. So you can jam in guys like Derek Stepan at 4.6 and Clayton Keller, who is, God, how inexpensive is he now? Yeah, 5.1 still. Like,
Yep.
both of those guys have been really solid. So I think they would make sense against a McKinnon-less Colorado team, but certainly not nowhere that I'm like jamming them in first look or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Another guy, I mean, I'm still on is Jacob Chutrin. He has been seeing 22 minutes pretty consistently and power play 2 time. I mean, that second power play unit's pretty ugly. I mean, Dvorak and Duclair are okay, but Archibald and Goligoski, like, it's not my favorite. I just keep hoping, like, every night when I go to bed, I'm like, can you please put Jacob Chutrin on the first line, Santa? And now it's Christmas is over, so maybe Santa will give me that gift of putting Chutrin on that first power play unit. So we will
Yeah,
see.
I mean,
But he's just a really nice value. I feel like at
yeah,
defense
I
if you
mean,
need it.
looking
Granted, yeah. Sorry.
looking at the game logs, I mean, he's played 9 games so far this year. He's hit at least 2.5 points in all but 3 of those 9 games. Like 2.5 points for 3,200 is awesome.
And
Like,
like that first game back, he had that goal. I mean, if that happens, like you just get naked. I mean, you just smash. Like, it's game
right.
over. It's GG. Like catch you later. And I feel like he does have that kind of offensive upside. And as he gets more acclimated and to the lineup, and hopefully first power play unit, I'm looking at you, Chaka. Well, I guess like Chaka wouldn't really make the
Yeah,
decision, but
I guess it would be Tippett. Yeah.
maybe Tippett. But Chaka still. I'm looking at you anyways.
Wait, no, Tippett's the one who got fired. It would be
Yeah, what's his name?
God, who was the duck or God, the Penguins assistant? Oh my God,
Um,
Tatchett or Tockett.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes,
God,
yes.
can't believe that one escaped me for so
Yeah.
long.
Owen Tippett's a rookie for the Florida Panthers. What are you talking about? Okay. Anyways, though, I think
God,
we covered this game
what a
okay.
slate.
Are there
What a
any? All
podcast.
right, well, how about this? Any really cheap players on Colorado that you're interested in? I mean, Sven Andrighetto is like 3,200. I know he's not like the sexiest player in the world.
Yeah, I mean,
Dvorak for
the
Arizona. I guess we could say either team.
the first thing that came to mind was JT Compher. He's still sub 4,000, but his
Mhm.
price has gone from 3,300 up to 3,900 now.
Yeah, he got the
Um,
Morning Skate podcast bump in price after we mentioned him. Like he's so cheap, you have to play him, and
like
then
he,
his
I
buddy
mean,
was like, got it.
yeah, he just has such a good floor. I mean, he's playing about 18 minutes a night. He's at over his last 10 games, he's at 27 shots a goal, 10 block shots. Like, that's nothing it's nothing that's gonna like win you a GPP. But if you're looking for a guy to just contribute to your lineup and let some other guys go out there with, higher upside, like Comfort makes a lot of sense. So I
Yeah.
think 3,900, he's a decent play. I would prefer him with McKinnon in the lineup, given that Comfort is playing on the first power play. And I think that if McKinnon's out, that'll just kind of decimate their uh, overall offensive output. So, you know, that's really the main concern I have with McKinnon's status being in doubt, that it could fall off. I guess one quick thing looking at last game, that first power play for Colorado did end up scoring a goal without McKinnon, and JT Compher scored it. So what do I know? It's one of those things where I think that he's just playing such a heavy role right now that getting guys who play minutes and have solid shot floors, it's just a recipe for DFS success. So maybe you can just play him either way.
All right, so moving to the last game. It's Vegas at Arizona, correct?
Anaheim.
Anaheim. Oh my lord, Vegas at Anaheim.
Yes,
Um,
Vegas finally hits the road.
yeah, they've been home, I think, for the first like 40 games, so it's about time they try out the road. Um, yeah, so and I feel like it's been like one of our favorites to talk about in the podcast. There is a chance we could be looking at Raquel, Getzlaff, and Kasha as the first unit for Anaheim. It looks like.
Mhm.
So, what are your thoughts initially on that unit that definitely smashed last time out?
Look, Anaheim is actually good. That is my only piece of advice that I give to you, the listener. If you take away one thing from the Morning Skate podcast, know that Anaheim is actually good. Vegas is actually not good, especially on the road. I mean, yes, DJ, you asked me a pointed question about Getzlaff Raquel. Awesome. Kasha, if he's there, awesome. John
3,300, just
Gibson,
saying.
Yes, John Gibson, 7,400 at home against the Vegas Golden Knights, who, I mean, yes, they score a lot at home, but on the road they don't score nearly as much. Like that's just a fact at this point. So God, I cannot get over how cheap that all of these guys are. I don't think Getzlaff is a must play at his price, but I mean Raquel, Asha, like God, yes, please. And then Getzlaff makes a lot of sense for GPPs as he's more of like the Mark Scheifele kind of player, but with a better shot floor. And I think it's just like a better point producer because he's so heavily relied upon, minutes wise and just puck possession wise. So that's one thing to say. Cam Fowler, DJ, I think you were even fawning over Cam Fowler more
I
than I
am.
was because
Go
I'm
on.
probably more interested in Petrie and maybe even Sakara. I have not thought that far into things, but Brandon Montour, 3,400. Like, yeah, he's not playing first power play, but he's out there playing 20 minutes a night. He's killing penalties now. Like, that didn't happen before. And last game, he had a shorthanded assist. So there you go. There's 3.5 points for you. Um, 2 games ago now, he had 7 DraftKings points. Like, he is back. He is playing a heavy role still, and he is only 3,400. Like, I cannot not play Brandon Montour, who has been so good to me, so good to all of us as the season's gone along. Like he's just a really, really damn good DFS player. So I'm all in on the Ducks yet again. Show me a reasonable price for any of these guys, and I will tell you about it. Like I think Getzlaff is a decent enough price where you can say no, he's not a must play. But I am jamming in Raquel, I am jamming in Montour, and just letting the cards fall as they may.
All right. Wow. I mean, I don't think I could follow that up. I'm just like looking at Andre Kasha and just really like excited. I mean, this guy has 15 points in 24 games. He's on the first unit. He gets 5 shots on goal. I mean, you know what I
That
mean? Like,
is
oh, so and he's
awesome.
3,300. I just don't understand. Second power play unit, so I mean, you don't quite get that full on exposure that you want throughout everything, but I mean, that's fine. Him and Montour, that's fine. I'm out.
Yeah, yeah. He and the boy. Yeah.
They can have fun
So
together. They can do whatever they want. All right.
absolutely. Um,
Anything on Vegas, or do you want to wrap this up with some goals and send it?
God, Vegas, just screw them. Screw them. It starts now. They fall apart starting now. Anaheim's coming for their playoff spot. Let's do this.
No more sweet golden knights. All right. So, just want to do like maybe one quick stack or two quick stacks, and
I mean, I think if we only
get,
pick one stack, you know what my stack is.
okay. So, Matt, you want to say your Anaheim stack before I get to mine?
Matt's Anaheim stack of the night. Uh,
Huh.
yes, Alex, I will take Raquel. I will take Kasha. I will take. Give me Montour. Screw Cam Fowler. Those are my three. Jam them in. Let's do this.
All right. I think I'm gonna look at Boston one and go with Pasternak, Marchand, and what's his name?
Bergeron or Krug?
I mean, oh yeah, I know. I want Bergeron. I'm gonna go full Boston one,
Nice. Let's do
full
it.
Boston one stack. I want it. And you know what? I'm just gonna throw it out there. You can do mine and Matt's stack in the same lineup.
Oh,
Well, I mean, not maybe completely. It
yeah,
depends.
you
If you
could.
go, you could, but it depends on if you want to go with Kasha, Raquel, and Getzlaff. You can't. But if you like take out one, you know what I mean, kind of.
Well, I mean, you could.
You
You
just
could.
you could. Oh, you could utility it.
So let me say just as a general note that I think early on this season there were so many good defensive plays that using the utility on anything but a defenseman was a
Yeah,
little bit suspect.
suspect.
Yeah, I guess that's how English works.
That's how. Yeah,
But now, like I've fallen in love 7 different times with wingers just on this slate alone. And this is a recurring trend. Like if there's going to be this many wingers priced down, I think it's more than reasonable to use a winger in utility. Like I was kind of team like literally team 3 defensemen and then figure out the rest of your lineup. I think now it's like 4 wingers and then figure out the rest of your lineup until these Raquel, Hoffman, Palmieri types get priced up to more reasonable salaries. So just kind of a macro note before we end the show.
yeah. Do you want to do one more stack then, or just two
Yeah,
goals?
yeah. No, let's do one more stack. I'm gonna go with the. I'm gonna go with the Columbus stack. The first power play for Columbus. I'm gonna get Dubois, Panarin, and Bjorkstrand. And then you
Oh,
can even throw in some Seth Jones for
yeah,
that first power play goodness. Keep an eye on the status
yeah,
of Werenski.
Werenski. Yeah, we even mentioned that, did we?
I guess not. We might not
Yeah,
have.
he's questionable. I don't see anything still confirming or denying. Where I think he's gonna play, just based off of like following beat reporters. And normally, like if he's not gonna play, we'd know by now. But
Yeah.
yeah, so okay, now I gotta make a stack, which was gonna be Columbus.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's. I mean, how would you have known? You know what? I'll go with no. You know what? I really. Oh my god, I want to go with like no, nope. I don't want to go with Montreal. That's the problem. Is I don't want to go with Montreal. You know what?
Mm,
I'll go Palmieri.
mm.
Just Palmieri Hall.
Palmieri Hall Butcher, maybe?
Never Butcher.
Hey,
No, okay. I don't hate Butcher. I don't know yet. I haven't. The
I
case is still kind of out on my Butcher love or hate. Like I've played him before and he's been money. He's just kind of like a boomer bust assist guy, and I don't love that for GPPs.
yeah, no, I definitely get that. He burned
So
me
it's kind of
pretty badly last time I
yeah.
played him.
I mean, I'm not gonna try to like really put that against him too much, but like I don't know. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm just not
All right.
sold on what he is yet.
All
Enigmas.
right.
Okay.
Guarantee me some goals, DJ.
Oh boy. All right, fine. So upper tier guy. I'll go with. I'm gonna go with. I'll go with Bergeron. You know what? I feel like I haven't called out Bergeron's name in far too long. He's kind of been. I feel like he's kind of be one of those like lower tier guys as far as like their shooting percentage, just driving them into bad luck.
Yep.
Or like, well, he'd be like really high in that category of like being burned by a shooting percentage. So I'll go with Bergeron at 7K, which leaves me about 4K to take.
Is Andre Kasha gonna keep up his 3-game goal streak, DJ?
You know what? He's making it 4. Andre Kasha.
Make it a 4.
I'll go Bergeron Kasha. Why not? All right, all you.
All right. I will stay away from Anaheim. DJ got his Kasha goal. I mean, Raquel is gonna score a goal, but I'm gonna go with Mike Hoffman and Kyle Palmieri. I don't even need the full salary. It just makes way too much sense to play these guys at their prices, the way they shoot the puck. Um, if you want me to guarantee 3 goals, like Hoffman, Palmieri, and Raquel, just you will not be burned by playing these guys. Like they just over the long run, they have such good profiles for daily fantasy that they're going to shoot the puck a lot. They're going to get some luck, and you're going to win a GPP. So, anything else to say before we do whatever we do on Wednesdays?
There was one more thing I wanted to say. Follow us on Twitter. I think that I'm going to tweet out our Morning Skate podcast logo, and I'd love to see more people using it. If you don't have a avatar on DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever the brand, you want to be a part of the Morning Skate podcast team. If you're in the group chat or not, I don't care. Let us know, and like you could direct message us if you want. I know we have like a cropped out one now, correct?
Yeah, yep.
As my DJ Sabers on both accounts logo now. So if you want that, let us know. It'd be awesome. We'd love to see more of it because nothing feels better than taking on that GPP, repping the brand. So let us know. And if you do take down a GPP or whatever, even if it's just cash games, just send us a picture of you on the top and we'll retweet it. Know how great you are.
Yes, for sure. All right, so good luck on the slate, everybody. Hope you guys get to this podcast in time to get some use out of it. So, from Doug, from DJ, from myself, have a good slate, everybody, and we will see ya.